Hey everyone, over the past week or so, quite a number of viewers have asked me to give my thoughts about the upcoming LEGO Ninjago sets that have been unveiled so far, so no problem, here we go with that. I am going to limit, or at least try to limit the scope of this video a little bit by not getting into kind of the genesis of the legacy sub-theme that they've come up with, or what is the reasoning behind all of this throwback stuff. We're looking at sets from season 1, season 2. I actually didn't watch the series at all back in those earliest days, but I have seen the sets and I have reviewed some of the ones that these are based on. But I'm not going to get into kind of the canonical stuff. I'm just going to look at the sets and tell you what I think about them, and in some cases tell you what I think about them in comparison to the original versions. So Samurai Mech is a great place to start. This was from season 1. Yes, I believe I did review the previous version. The previous version was a $40 set with 452 pieces. This one is it's looking like it's going to be a $15 set. It might be a little more than that, but per the Euro price, it looks like it's probably going to settle right in. And per the number of parts, it should settle in right around $15 US, which is fantastic to be able to get the Samurai Mech at such a low price. As time has gone by, LEGO sets in general have become more and more expensive for a given item as things have become more complex with more small details, with more small pieces, which has meant smaller builds for higher prices, which is really a tough pill to swallow. This is a way to solve that, and myself, and I've seen many other people asking for LEGO to do exactly this, to try to make smaller but still good looking and hopefully good playing items, that cost less. And I think that this has the potential to be a success at that. This is never going to have the visual dominance of the original. It is smaller. There's no replacement for displacement, as they say. But I think that this accessibility that they're affording here is a very good thing. I support that. What next? Let's talk about this one. Yes, the Golden Dragon. So they did a Golden Dragon set before, which was larger. It was, let's see, this one's going to be about 170 pieces. The previous one was about 250 pieces. And this is also cheaper, about a third cheaper than the previous one. This is going to be about $20 US, it looks like. And the initial impression is very similar. I think I did review the previous version of this as well. I wasn't a huge fan, if I recall, of the wings. They're kind of skeletal. They look like they're kind of bony. Like where are the fins, or even some energy in between there? Using the blades left a little bit to be desired, and also the head. I thought the rubbery head that they used before wasn't the greatest. They've pretty much pulled right over most of the looks of the original. Just made it a little bit smaller. I'll wait to see how this actually plays in the hand. But again, I think this is going to be a decent just reduction in size of the original design for the most part. And as long as it's nicely posable and doesn't fall apart, I think that's, again, a good thing. It's something that LEGO needs to do. They need to have their big stuff that will impress lots of people, and a lot of folks who won't even be able to afford things still like to have that pride in knowing that LEGO has created great things, large things. But when it comes to actually putting money into cash registers and inserting credit card numbers into websites, you need to have lower priced things, and this is important. I also really like that Overlord figure. That one looks fantastic, possibly the best Overlord they've ever done. So good stuff there. Here's a bike set. Of course, there's another bike set. They managed, even in going back through history, they've managed to pull out another bike set. This one actually pulls bikes from two different sets, but bike sets are bike sets. They've done a lot of these. They're generally, to me, not very I don't know, not very evocative, not very interesting. I think that these will probably be just fine for what they are, but they're just not for me. I'm kind of interested in that little armature that they came up with to allow you to spin a figure while running it across the ground. That looks like it could be interesting. Maybe one or two, I think, new pieces used to create that. Could be good for play, but this set and this type of set generally will do nothing for me. I actually think I like the previous version of the Kai cycle better, with more red, less black. The Ultra Dragon. Okay, that is one that I think out of all of these, this one has the potential. I think has the highest potential to actually be sought out and purchased by nostalgic Ninjago fans, because probably a lot of people weren't able to get the original one because it was one of the really expensive sets. Even folks who were really, really into Ninjago back in those days, in those early days, and had a lot of sets, are most likely to not have had this set, but to still want it to this day. So I think this was a good idea to come up with it and offer it up again. It's going to be another expensive one with over 950 pieces. I haven't seen the official price for this. I expect it to be about $100. The previous one was $120, but also came with the Great Devourer, but it also had fewer pieces. This one has the brick-built heads, which I tend to prefer as long as they look good, and I think these look pretty good for what they are. I personally am not a big fan of the Ultra Dragon, the Epic Dragon, the Ultra Dragon myself. Just all those heads is just very freaky to me. So, yeah, it's not for me, but I think it's good that they'll have this kind of Halo set out there, to offer up. Compare that to Monastery Training, just one of the small, almost impulse buy sets that you mostly get for the figures. Comes with Kai and Nia, and it's interesting. I don't know exactly what they're doing with these. With this whole series. I mean, these figures are not based on their season 1 appearances, obviously. I mean, Nia is set up here as the Water Ninja, but it's a completely new outfit for her. The prints are new. Also, the headpieces, the headgear for all these are new. It's one piece again, which I think is a good decision. I think you can do some cool things with the 2-piece sets, but for headgear. But ultimately, it's much more convenient to be able to just take one piece off, pop it off, and put something else on, and it makes it probably more secure to use these with Spinjitzu. This looks like a fine little set for what it is, and I really think it's mostly going to sell for the minifigures and the accessories, which is fine. And that one's going to be like $10. There you go, $10. That's not bad. And again, comes with one of those little spinning, like Spinjitzu armatures. Basically, it just is a thing that allows you to move your figure around and make it spin on its own, which is good. So let's talk about Spinjitzu Master sets. The last Spinjitzu Master stuff that they did was basically just Air Jitsu minus the ability to fly. So it was actually a downgrade from the Air Jitsu sets, although I guess being able to stay on the ground more easily was a good thing. But this takes us back to the original concept for Spinjitzu sets, but doesn't have the weighted base. I'm not sure how well these are going to spin up, how well they're actually going to play. I'm worried about that. I'm worried that they won't be heavy enough to battle effectively. Presumably they tested that. Presumably they tested it extensively, but then again, they did do the Air Jitsu stuff. They did do the previous Spinjitzu stuff, neither of which I thought were that great in reality for play. These have a lot more potential, and most importantly, they have the ability to customize them. Not only does customizing change the look, but it'll actually change how they work. And that was the most important thing that I really felt was missing in the Air Jitsu and the last Spinjitzu stuff that they did. All of them worked exactly the same. The great thing that I always thought that that Lego did with the originals was encourage kids to go in there and try different weapons, build different things. Don't just use pieces from the original sets. Go crazy, try different stuff, and experiment ultimately with physics. You can even learn stuff from it. So they've brought that back here and actually made the little the little cyclones. They made them. They made actual cyclones now, which look much, much closer to the actual animations of Spinjitzu in action than anything that they've done up to this point. So this has potential. I am definitely looking forward to trying these out in person. That's the big thing. Will they play well? That's the big question. They have potential, but I'm not positive yet. At least Lego is listening to the fans, though. I know I personally, even not as an original Spinjitzu fan, I personally wished that they had done something like this instead of what they had done most recently. Jay's Stormfighter is a bit of an outlier here because this one is significantly larger than the previous one. So this is an almost 500 piece set. It's going to go for $40 US, it looks like. The last one was $25 with about half as many pieces and half as many minifigures. So they actually scaled this one up. So they're not just taking the entire line and making smaller versions of everything. Obviously, the Ultra Dragon didn't do that, but this one goes in the opposite direction of the others. I think it looks really good. I think it looks much better than the original, as it should, having many more pieces. I'm not sure about that inverted hinge piece towards the front on the nose there. Not a big fan of that right now, but being able to transform it out, bring the wings out, I think it looks really good. It's going to be more expensive, and that's because of how marketing works and product sales. They need to have things at different price points. They can do whatever they need with that. Ultimately, I think that the set looks good, and if people who want it can afford it, great. If they could have made something smaller, though, that still looked pretty good and still has similar play value, that would have been better, just more consistently. Let's go ahead and move on, though, to Cole's Earth Driller, which is not really just Cole's Earth Driller. It's Cole's Earth Driller plus a giant stone warrior done as a giant fig. An actual built-up figure. These are great. I love those things. Ever since they did the first one, the Giant Man, I think was the first one in this series, I've just been hoping that they'll do more and more, and so you will not, I hope you will not be able to see me ever complain about another giant figure being made. That one looks pretty respectable and looks like it's going to have ball joints in all four shoulders, which is important. The driller itself, I guess I'm trying to think if I like it better than the previous one. It's hard to say because I really didn't like the previous one. Just myself, not too much. I'm assuming that this is going to seem cooler to me in person when I actually roll it back and forth than it does just looking at the pictures. But just looking at the pictures, I don't know. It doesn't do anything for me, and I don't like plastic wheels. They're loud, and they tend to build up static electricity sometimes. I don't know. I don't like plastic wheels. They look cool, but they sound cheap. And then lastly, the Monastery. I'm trying to go between the American and non-American pronunciations. Monastery and Monastery. Anyway, this is another one that's significantly larger than its previous version. The previous version was Spinjitzu Dojo. This has much more than twice as many pieces. Does not cost twice as much. This one's $80. Previous one was $50. There's a lot more to this, though. Still not complete all the way around, but at least you have a back here and a front. I think the front is very important to set up scenes. The builds, as such as they are, I think they're going to look, I think the whole thing is going to look much smaller than I expect it to. But, I don't know. I think it's a decently put together set, just in terms of the overall decisions that were made, is definitely going to allow kids and older fans as well to set up some nice scenes. The most important thing here, though, is the inclusion of the entire ninja team, which again includes a full Water Ninja trained Nia, instead of taking the original version of her. But yeah, again, we'll see how that works out. It's cool to see an old style Wu in there again, and just one bad guy here. That's awkward for him, but I think it's okay to do sets that just focus on one side or another. But they definitely have not balanced things out throughout this entire theme so far. In terms of giving us enough bad guys. We'll see how that works out. I guess it's not that bad in terms of the balance, but you think of the Stone Army, you think of the Skeleton Army, and I just wish that there were lots more, just token bad guys to mow down. Overall, I think the smaller sets are the stars of this line so far, in terms of value especially. The larger sets are fine, but I feel like the Monastery is well sized, and it's nice that it comes with all the figures, the full team. The Stormfighter, I think, could have been done as a smaller set as well. I think that would have been better, but this is just a matter of appealing to different sized wallets ultimately, or taking money from different sized wallets is honestly what that comes down to. It's just how business works. You can call it evil if you want, but I mean, ultimately, it's no less evil than doing lots of small sets. It's all for profit. But overall, I think it's a pretty decent looking wave. I'm just holding off to find out what Legacy is really all about. I think the last time they did something like this was with Bionicle, when they did the Stars line, which was a goodbye to the line. I don't think they're saying goodbye to Ninjago. They've been investing quite a bit in it and talking about how it's been a very successful thing up to this point, and I look forward to seeing what else they'll come out with for a new season. But that's it for my thoughts on these for now, I guess. I will definitely be buying and reviewing most, if not all, of these once they become available to purchase somewhere where I can actually purchase them. It doesn't help me any, and doesn't help any viewers if stuff comes out in some other country other than my own, or they come out in some locations where I'm not able to get there because it's hundreds of miles away or whatever. But as soon as I can get the stuff, I'll get it and I'll review it as always. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you again as soon as I can.